Hey everybody, back again to look at some more Black Sabbath stuff. Don't know what it was about summer 2024, but Black Sabbath was easily 50% of my listening. And just going to take a look at my non-studio album Black Sabbath stuff. Definitely people out there whose collections put mine to shame tenfold, but just taking a look at what I got. So we're going to start off with the first official Black Sabbath live album, Live at Last. This was released legally, but without the band's consent, and they were not fans of this being put out. Came out after the band parted with their original management. And the commonly seen cover is like the surface of the moon. And I don't know if this is a bootleg or an American edition or a European edition. I'm not too sure, but that looks to me like Pazuzu, the statue from the first Exorcist movie. At least that's what it looks like to me. And what do you have on here? It starts off with Tomorrow's Dream. Nice pick. Don't hear that one live all that often, to my knowledge. Killing Yourself to Live, Cornucopia, along with more well-known songs like Sweet Lee, Paranoid, Children of the Grave, War Pigs, all that stuff. But the clear highlight of this album is Wicked World from the debut album. Yes, I like Wicked World, but this version is so much more than that. It's, I think, about 20 minutes long. It's got guitar solo, the live drum solo. I think it has the ending of Symptom of the Universe, and a shortened version of Supernaut, all included in it. Yeah, Live at Last. Next up, we're going to take a look at Reunion. Probably the best Black Sabbath live album, if you ask me. Released in 1998 when Ozzy rejoined the band for a couple years. It's got a great song selection, great performances, feels like a live album. My favorite tracks on here got to be NIB on disc 1, and I'll say Lord of this World on disc number 2. I feel like my CD here is a Japanese version. Now at the end of this, there's 2 new songs from 1997, 1998, whatever this was. Selling My Soul and Psycho Man. I definitely like Psycho Man the best, especially around the 3-minute mark. The song gets real good there, but then quickly goes back to some really bad lyrics. And overall, these 2 songs, they just kind of remind me of like throwaway Ozzy songs from the 90s. Now we're going to look at Live Evil from 1980. This is the super deluxe version that came out a couple years ago. It is the one and only Dio Black Sabbath live album. And the popular sentiment is that this was the ending of the first, the first Dio period, because there's a lot of fighting about the recording. At least that's what they say. And now let's take a minute to take a look at this. So inside we have a hardcover book with tons of pictures and information. This one's a soft cover, big booklet. And this really cool Sabbath poster. And then, of course, you got the album itself. So you have the double original album, and then there's also a 2-disc, what's it called? The 40th Anniversary Remix, but exact same track listing. I'm like a lot of people where this is probably like my least favorite Black Sabbath live album. As much as Dio rules, The him saying the Ozzy stuff, not only does it's not that it feels wrong without it being Ozzy, it's just that, I don't know, Dio just does not sing these songs the way most of us want to hear them, I guess. But one of my favorite songs on here, I'd say on disc 1, they got a real bang version of Voodoo. And on the second disc, I gotta go with Heaven and Hell. They start off the song, there's some guitar soloing, they go into Sign of the Southern Cross, and then they come back to Heaven and Hell. Some good stage banter from Dio. I think, yeah, Heaven and Hell is my other favorite track on here. And again, not my favorite Black Sabbath release, but you should check it out irregardless. Okay, next up we're going to go with The End, the final Black Sabbath album, both recorded and released in 2017. It was the band's final show ever in their hometown, Birmingham, England. Just take a quick detour. I unfortunately have a lot of regret to never seeing Black Sabbath live. I suppose during the 90s reunion tour, I guess I could have maybe like talked my dad to take me or something, but I didn't go to concerts at all back in the day, nor did I really have any desire to when I was 13 years old or whatever. And then their farewell tour, I don't know, I was just in a different place. I wasn't listening to much of the classics, I was more listening to extreme metal, and I just said I don't need to spend an arm and a leg to watch some old guys collect a paycheck. That was just my opinion, but in hindsight, I heard that the shows were really good. So again, this is nowhere near as good as Reunion. Ozzy sounds so-so on some of these songs, and there's also the lack of original drummer Bill Ward. But my favorite songs on here are on disc 1, Under the Sun, awesome. And on the second one, there's a cool medley of Supernaut, Sabbath Bloody Sabbath, and Megalomania. It's way too short, but those are 3 of my favorite Black Sabbath songs, all played together in quick succession. And there you go, The End. Here we're going to look at a 2007 comp of the Dio era tracks. So you might be thinking, only 3 albums. Is it really worth it? I'd say it is worth your time, because this is a lot of amazing tracks on one disc. I mean, Neon Nights, Lady Evil, Heaven and Hell, Die Young, Lonely is the Word, The Mob Rules, Turn Up the Night, Voodoo, Falling Off the Edge of the World, TV Crimes, There's a live version of Children of the Sea, well, the same one on Live Evil. But the main attraction to this is the 3 unreleased songs that Sabbath recorded with Dio. Those being The Devil Cried, Shadow of the Wind, and Ear on the Wall. Unfortunately, I have to say that none of these 3 songs are amazing to me. I would say The Devil Cried is my favorite of these. The same way that I found the songs on Reunion, the new songs, sounding like kind of throwaway Ozzy songs, I think these kind of sound like later era, kind of filler Dio songs. Maybe not the songs, but the feel of them, like the Masters of the Moon kind of era, I'd say. But again, an album full of classic tracks until you get to the end. Still discussing work that Dio did with the band. We're going to talk about Heaven and Hell, released in 2009, shortly before the death of Dio. And I believe this is called Heaven and Hell because somewhere along the line, Iommi signed a contract saying anything with Black Sabbath, like being clearly labeled Black Sabbath, needs to be involved with Ozzy. And the reunion was, the final reunion was already in the works. But even still, the guys got together with Dio and put out this album. A lot of people love this one. I've never been a big fan of it. Through the years, I keep trying to fall in love with it. It just doesn't happen. But this is still some solid metal done by the Masters. Not really a big fan of the opening song, Adam and Evil, but I feel like tracks 2 through 6, all those are pretty good. Then the final 4, I feel like the album kind of dips again. But again, most people love this album, and I do think it belongs in every metal fan's collection just from the significance of the people involved. We're going to look at this deluxe expanded edition of The Eternal Idol. Maybe we'll talk more about the music when I do an album ranking, but I'm looking at this because not only does it have the original album with Tony Martin on vocals, it also has a second disc that has Ray Gillen on vocals, and he was a part of the band. He recorded The Eternal Idol, and then the band fired him, got Tony Martin to come in and sing it. So I've never really been that familiar with Gillen. I know he was in that band Badlands with Jake E. Lee. Listened to him, didn't really catch my ear. But I gotta say, like, I would say the vocal performances, I love Tony Martin, but I would say, like, I think it's about equal. They're both really good, and to my ears, Ray Gillen sounds kind of like a more basic Jeff Tate. That's what I thought. But it was cool to hear. And finally, we'll look at Anno Domini, 1989 to 1995. This is the 4 Black Sabbath albums that were out of print for many years. You could always get them used, but it could be pricey. So you got Headless Cross, Tear, Cross Purposes, and Forbidden. With the exception of Headless Cross, definitely not the strongest Black Sabbath material, but I was happy to finally get my my hands on CD copies of these albums. Really thick booklet, again, tons of pictures, interviews, articles by writers, I believe. Another booklet that's mostly pictures. Then you got that Headless Cross poster I got on the wall there. And then the 4 albums themselves. So I was glad to finally get that. That's it for me for some Black Sabbath stuff, and I'll see you next time. Thank you.